Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, Ril Joe Quinn, recording this on a Tuesday, episode 1052, Clarifications. As always, you can find this podcast on YouTube or anywhere where podcasts are available. Happy to be with you. A lot of NBA, of course. This will be a NBA-driven podcast. As we are starting to kind of we had a couple teams eliminated in the last couple of days with Philadelphia and last night the Los Angeles Lakers. Um, so things will start to calm down a little bit in the NBA this week in particular. A couple single night games. Tonight, you just have one game tonight, and then tomorrow, uh, tomorrow you'll have one game. Thursday will be an off day, no basketball on Thursday, and then Friday you have a doubleheader. You have two game sixes with Minnesota, San Antonio, Cleveland, Detroit, Minnesota, San Antonio, and maybe we'll get a game seven this weekend. But tonight, of course, game five of Minnesota, San Antonio coming up clock. Um, Coming off a Sunday, just a Sunday game in which you had Victor Wembanyama getting ejected, rightfully so. He elbows Nas Reed in the back of the head. I didn't think he was going to get kicked out at first, but after the first replay, it was obvious that they had no choice but to kick him out. He gets no fine, no suspension. Had no problem with that. I'll get to that later on. But this is listen, San Antonio. This series is tied at two. To give Minnesota a lot of credit. They did what they had to do. Did what they should have done in regards to winning a game. You have to win that game at home, down 2-1. No Victor Wembanyama for the better part of two quarters, 2.5 quarters, and give San Antonio fault. San Antonio took a lead. It was looking like San Antonio was going to win that game. Then you get the big fourth quarter from Anthony Edwards. Nas Reed had a big time game. Um, Jaden McDaniels was more efficient, took less shots, despite the turnovers. Julius Randle had some moments despite the turnovers, and so so did what it had to do in order to get us to here to a game five in San Antonio. I still feel like San Antonio was in control of the series. They have outside of game one, been the better team. To be perfectly honest with you, I picked San Antonio in seven. I would not be surprised if San Antonio won tonight and then wrapped it up in game six. Um, and Minnesota would not surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me if this went seven. I don't think Minnesota is going to win this series. I just feel like San Antonio's athleticism, San Antonio's San Antonio's young players have been extremely impressive in this series. Castle and Harper. You're looking at you know the overall numbers in this series between those two. Um, right now, Castle is at basically 17-6 and shooting 17-6 on 49% from the field, only 23%, excuse me, 17 Castle 17-6 on 45% from the field, 40% from three and 82% from the line. So he has shot the ball extremely well. That was a question coming into this series. Question coming into these playoffs, how inconsistent of a three-point shooter he had been over the course of the season. Dylan Harper has been phenomenal in this series. He's at 15 points on 55% from the field, and I frankly think he should be playing more minutes. That backcourt, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't even dream of trading of breaking up their backcourt. Like they both defend at a high level. They both are super athletic or are athletic. They both play under control. They have exceeded my what expectations I had for them, or question marks I had about them going to this postseason. Both of them. Defensively, they compete at a high level. They're athletic. They now Castle has been, got to some foul trouble at times, but mostly it hasn't not been at that not hasn't cost them a game. But Dylan Harper has just, like I said, these guys. This is a rookie. Like Dylan Harper is a rookie playing major minutes in a playoff series, and their time. I mean, in this series in particular, outside of Wembanyama, I can make a case that Harper has been their most consistent player. He's been that good. So I expect those guys to really have a big performance tonight. If you're Minnesota, and Edwards has started to pick it up, had a big game, and they needed every single one of those points in Game 4. Um, Jay McDaniels, they they wouldn't have a chance to win the series. Jay McDaniels, offensively has to pick it up a little bit, only shooting 39% from the field in this series. So he has to pick it up from an offensive standpoint to give some help to Anthony Edwards, who may need to drop 40 to 45 tonight for them to have a realistic chance to win. If you're Minnesota, tonight you just want to be in the game in the fourth quarter. Now you don't. San Antonio is going to come out. The crowd is going to be going berserk over the Wembanyama getting kicked out of the game. He's going to come back with something to prove. It'll be interesting to see how he deals um, with the physicality. If I'm Minnesota, I'm even being more physical. To be perfectly honest with you, that's the only way that you have any chance at defending Victor Wembanyama is with physicality. You're not going to out athletic. You're not going to be a better athlete than he is. You're not going to not play any mind games. Again, you're not going to talk shit to him. You have to be. You have to be. You have to just beat the shit out of him. That is the way right now because he's not still. Again, this is only his third year. His body is not where it will be eventually. So you can still push him around a bit, and you gotta try to get into his head from that standpoint. That was clearly what set him off in that game in Game 4. It was a culmination of the physical play, in particulars in games 1 and 3. Game 2 was such a blowout that game was over at time. Games 1, 3, and 4, and like game 3 was basically hand to hand combat. First game in Minnesota, that I mean, the officials were absolutely letting those two teams play, letting those two teams go at it on both sides, and he got enough was enough from his standpoint, and he snapped and he lost it. But if I'm Minnesota, I keep going with that strategy of like we can't let him get rim runs, open runs with these lobs and dunks inside. He's been ultra aggressive in going to the paint the last 3 games, games 2, 3, and the little bit of time he played in game 4. He's not settling anymore on 3-point shots as he was in game like he was in game 1. Um, so you have to stay, you have to switch up. I have to stay physical with him, whether it's with Julius Randle, Nas Reed, um, Jay McDaniels to a lesser extent. You have to and Rudy Gobert still, even though he has an athletic advantage over Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert still is crafty enough and understands body positioning and things of that nature in order to bother Victor from that standpoint. So, the ideal is you want to wear him down. And that's what I think Minnesota, I actually believe that San Antonio, it would be in the best interest of San Antonio, even though they have game 7, to get this series over with in 6 games, because I actually believe that if you're Minnesota, the longer the series plays out, the better, bigger, the bigger advantage you have. Um, the better chance you have to win it. I That's why I thought the mistake that Wembanyama made was such a critical one. I thought San Antonio was going to win that game. Um, I thought again they were not in control of the game when he left. But to me, the way that game was going, I didn't see them having any answer for Wembanyama in that game. And I thought San Antonio I thought San Antonio was in a nice comfort zone rhythm before that he got kicked out of that game. I really do, really did. The energy in that building wasn't quite where it was, where it should be for being down 2-1. Um, I absolutely thought that they would won that game and been up 3-1 and possibly put the series away tonight. Now, even if you win tonight, you gotta go back to Minnesota, close out a team that has played great with their backs against the wall. A team that is a never has has a never has a a fuck you never say die attitude to say at least. And we've seen Minnesota fight back from 3 down 3-2 before in the past couple of years. They did it against Denver 2 years ago in one game six going away, and then one game seven in Denver. I don't want to mess with Minnesota, even though I have home court advantage. I don't want to mess with Minnesota if I'm San Antonio in a game seven. I really don't want. I want. I'm not gonna say I don't want any part of it. It's still game seven in your building, but boy, I Minnesota would be extremely comfortable in those circumstances. Extremely comfortable. Now, if you're Minnesota, of course you would love to steal game five tonight and wrap it up in your building come come Thursday. Excuse me, come Friday. That would be ideal for you if you're Minnesota. But Minnesota, make no mistake about it, Minnesota would love would would not even move, would not even be moved in terms of playing a game seven in San Antonio. They would sign up for that today. Oh, game seven against them, that lack of experience. Oh, we'll certainly take that. They haven't never been in a game seven. Oh, that game seven pressure is different. Players play different in game seven. Game seven is separate, a separate entity in these series. Like you can basically almost toss aside the other six games. Game seven has there's a different type of energy to a game seven. This night has to be the question to me for tonight's game is who's the second banana for Minnesota? Who's the second banana for Minnesota? Jay McDaniels offensively has not been good in this series. Julius Randle has not been good in this series. Nas Reed has outside of Edwards has been their most consistent offensive player outside of Edwards. So you need a performance. You need maybe a AO DeSumo. Maybe he could have a big time game. Um, So you're not going to get, Terrence. It's a lot to ask a young player, Terrence Shannon Jr. A lot to ask for him. So to me, the candidates it has to be either Randall or DeSumo to help, not to help, to help Anthony Edwards because I know what I'm getting out of Wembanyama, and at this point, I know what I'm getting out of Harper and Castle. I know what I'm getting out of Harper and Castle. Like Fox hasn't even been good in this series. Like Fox is 37% in this series. Champagne has been okay. It's been okay. It's been decent. Vassell's been okay. So it's basically to me uh, three against one right now with consistency as far as San Antonio has three guys that you know what you're getting what you are getting from right now, and Minnesota has one, and Minnesota to have any chance in this game and even for the rest of the series, is going to have to close that gap. Of course, last night, um, couple of games. Let's begin. Begin with the Lakers. Go with Oklahoma City. No, let me go with Cleveland and Detroit first because I have a lot on Oklahoma City and Lakers. Cleveland, as far as Cleveland and Detroit, not surprised that this is 2-2. Cleveland undefeated so far in the playoffs. They're 6-0. They have been a completely different team in the playoffs. The dangerous thing with Detroit is the fact that Donovan Mitchell is has heated up. Donovan Mitchell's last three games is averaging 37 and 7, 37 is 37 and 7. And this version of Donovan Mitchell, if you're Detroit, is problematic because he can, he's a feast of famine playoff player. He is absolutely a feast of famine playoff player. A career 28.3 points per game, which is like top seven all time, but also not great shooting stats or not great as far as very bad efficiency, poor efficiency for that matter. But when he gets on a heater, it can be he can put 50 on you in a heartbeat. Last night he goes out there and scores 39 points in a half. So if you're Detroit, that we saw Harden have the big game last night, played well last night, but this version of Donovan Mitchell can dominate a series. We haven't seen this consistently in the past couple years. Um, so, eh, Detroit, like that game five in Detroit, obviously Detroit needs to win that game. The pressure clearly is squarely on Detroit. I still think Detroit will win this series. I think that this is headed towards a game seven. I really think that this is going to be a home court series, to be perfectly honest with you. Um, Cade is still the best player in the series. Uh, and I think that, I think that we're going to be on the seesaw here. I can see Cleveland winning, excuse me, Detroit winning game five, Cleveland winning game six, and Detroit finding a way in a game seven to win a defensive battle. But somebody like a guy like Donovan Mitchell, when you have that type of player who can explode, go for 45 or 50 in a given night in a playoff game, you always have a chance in a seventh game if it goes uh that far. Of course, last night the Lakers season ended at the hands of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City sweeps the Lakers. Oklahoma City not only swept the Lakers for the playoffs in the playoffs, swept them for the season, going 8-0. And basically, with the exception of last night, only two of the games were under like 15 points. There was a game in February that I don't think I want to say I don't think that they had Oklahoma City had a bunch of people not healthy. Shea actually might have missed that game, and they lost by 9. They beat the Lakers by 9 um, in LA. And of course, last night, the game that went down to the wire, both teams played well in the fourth quarter. Some great shot making. Uh, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, as well. But Oklahoma City just had too many weapons, too athletic, and they eventually wore the Lakers down. And it was the Shea and basically AJ Mitchell show. And Oklahoma City showed why they're champs. We'll get to them. Uh, we'll get to them soon enough. But as far as the Lakers go, I coming into the season, even at the highest of highs as a Laker fan, I never was sold on this team as being a legit contender. I didn't think, going to the season, like as San Antonio emerged, as the Spurs emerged. Well, first off, going to the season, I said they're not as good as OKC, not as good as Denver. Then San Antonio emerged, not as good as San Antonio, not as good as Houston or Minnesota. And, even they go on the run, they kind of figure things out with LeBron as a third option in the regular season. And Luca was having a, all NBA, first team all NBA caliber year, which he will be first team all NBA. And even though he won't get any MVP consideration, he was having an MVP caliber season statistically, led the league in scoring, on excellent efficiency, led the league in scoring, and also in terms of free throws and things of that nature. And you had Austin Reeves having a phenomenal offensive year. But again, with the Lakers, they're never, they never were going to approach any of those top teams on the West at the top in regards to OKC and San Antonio. They can't see those teams because they don't have any two-way players on the Lakers. They don't. Like their bet like Marcus Smart is not a two-way player at this standpoint. At this point in his career, he can occasionally get hot, make some shots, scrap and claw defensively. He's not Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is like if Marcus Smart is on your start is starting on your team, you're not a championship team. Marcus Smart was coming off the bench in a role where he's playing like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes a game, maybe. Then that's an entirely different story. So you have no sides, no quality sides up front. We knew that DeAndre Ayton was a gamble. Mid risk, low reward. Um, was low risk, mid reward. So it was not a big gamble. The contract is not crazy. He won't be on the team next year. That was a disaster. Um, so the Lakers, I would say, exceeded expectations. I expect the Lakers to get past the first round. Perfectly honest with you, even with a healthy Luka. And again, I listen. The Lakers. I hope the Lakers are smart enough to know to win Oklahoma City is. Like they're just not on. There's nowhere near that level of play. I mean, the game Luka and Austin Reeves got hurt. They were down by 31 in the first half of that game. Period. You were getting destroyed by Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City in this series, Oklahoma City absolutely toyed with the Lakers. They toyed with the Lakers. They didn't like you. Oklahoma City played. Yeah, they were playing hard. They didn't have any respect for the Lakers. They never thought the Lakers could win. Period. Like you think it's not a coincidence that you know the first halves of those games were competitive, and then the second half, Oklahoma City be like, all right, let's get serious now. See ya. That's not a coincidence. Like they knew that the Lakers had no chance to beat them. Zero. And they played like it. They kind of went through the motions. And again, no Jalen Williams either on from that standpoint. So you gotta keep if you're bringing up Luca, you can bring up Luca all you want. They didn't have their second or third best player. A guy who dropped 40 in the finals game last year and who was, what, third team all NBA was 13 all NBA, was second team all defense. Like this guy, when healthy, is a legit top 20 player, maybe even top 15, but legitimately a top 20 player. So there was never a threat. They were never any, they're not anywhere close to being a championship team. They're not close. And they'll have a lot of questions to answer to to deal with. They have to get more athletic. They have to get some front court help, some legitimate sides up front. You can't in the Western Conference when you're in a conference with Joker, Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, uh, Hardenstein. The West has too many quality bigs. You can't play. The small ball doesn't work in the West. But small ball doesn't work in the league anymore. You don't see as much small ball as you once did. You like the playoffs are too physical. If you don't have at least two quality bigs, you have no chance. You just can't. You can't. You're not competing without quality bigs. Without multiple quality bigs. That was one of the problems that Houston had this year. They really everybody talks about the point guard. I would say Steven Adams missing was way bigger. Was much more detrimental towards that team than Fred VanVleet was. To be perfectly honest with you, because the game gets more physical in the playoffs. Like these officials are going to let you play. Offensive rating has dropped in the playoffs. Scoring has is down in the playoffs. These teams are not scoring 100, outside the Knicks, outside the Knicks and the Thunder. For the most part, these teams' scoring has dropped. Period. Knicks and Thunder are only teams that are putting up these video game offensive numbers and these just in ridiculous offensive rating numbers. So and the Lakers need a lot, and it's not going to be easy to get the pieces that they need. The fact of the matter is there are not that many two-way quality players. The Lakers need a Jay McDaniels or OG Anunoby. They need about two of those guys. It's hard to find one of them, let alone two of them. So again, to me, I think best case scenario would be a sign and trade. Would sign Austin Reeves and trade him for some more athleticism and some pieces. If LeBron comes back, takes a pay cut to come back, cool. If he doesn't, then that's fine as well. That's fine as also. You can't give LeBron James $50 million. You can't. You just can't do it. And if LeBron wants to say, "Hey, I'm not taking a pay cut," hey man, it's been real. Like, hey, we appreciate the 9 years, the championship come into play every night. He had a couple of injuries. He had a couple of seasons where he missed some games, but for the most part, LeBron was pretty durable with the Lakers. And the guy's 41 years old and still playing. He played well in the playoffs. LeBron was a legit top 10 player in the playoffs this year. To be being perfectly honest with you, won a playoff series when the team had injuries and played well. LeBron played like a B+ player in the playoffs. But you're not that guy anymore to where we can't in this market in this NBA economy with these aprons we can't pay you 50 million. You can't make $50 million. And if LeBron is serious on terms of we'll know how serious LeBron is in terms of winning a championship if he goes to Cleveland, whether it's in Cleveland or LA, depending on how much money he makes. We'll know how serious he is about winning a championship. Is it really about winning a championship? There's no splitting the difference. If you're serious about winning a championship, you will absolutely take a pay cut. I'm not telling LeBron to take a pay cut. By the way, I'm not telling him. I like, hey, it's a choice. You don't. He is a free agent. He can do what he wants to do. He can absolutely do what he wants to do. Now, there are not that many teams that have cap space that would be. I don't know how many teams would even pay LeBron James $50 million. To be perfectly honest with you. All it takes is one. I understand, and LeBron, LeBron. There are only certain places LeBron would even be willing to play. I don't see LeBron. L.A., Cleveland. Where else? Where else would LeBron be willing to pay? If he goes to Golden State, he has to take a pay cut, a major pay cut to go to Golden State. Golden State doesn't have any money. Golden State has no money, so he would have to take a major pay cut to go for that to happen. I don't see those are the three places he's going to end up either Lakers. I will put the Lakers as the favorites to keep LeBron. I think they will figure something out. Cleveland is a close second, and Golden State will be a distant third. And I'll tell you this: even if LeBron says, "Hey," and by the way, LeBron has every right to be like, "If I'm taking a pay cut, what is this roster going to look like?" Matter of fact, you tell before I take this pay cut. let's cook the books here. Not cook the books, but let's do some let's chop up some numbers. What are you gonna do with the money that I leave on the table? What is this roster going to look like? So he has every right to ask to come at Rob Pelinka and ask those questions. Every right, because I would be asking the same questions. If I'm leaving 25 million dollars on the table, what is this? Is this going to be a championship roster? Is it realistic? Can we put together a roster that can compete with OKC and San Antonio and even Minnesota? But OKC and San Antonio are like heads and shoulders above anybody right now in the Western Conference with what they have in terms of draft picks, talent, young talent, athleticism, organizational structure, infrastructure. They are the two franchises heads just above everyone in the Western Conference. So it'll be an interesting offseason, to say the least, for the Los Angeles Lakers and for the NBA in general. A lot of teams are going to have a lot of question marks, and a lot of things to get to in this NBA all season. Um, I want to go back to Sunday in regards to the Knicks and the absolute. We talk about a team that is playing just unbelievable basketball, a team that has come together at the perfect time and playing their best basketball of the season by far. The Knicks absolutely just annihilate Philadelphia 76ers, beat them into submission to where the game was basically over after the first quarter. Um, and, you know, their two closeout games, the Knicks have won by 51 and 30. And I'll tell you right now, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been that game absolutely that game absolutely could have been a lot worse on Sunday. The Knicks took the foot off the gas. Um, Absolutely took the foot off the gas in the second half of that game, in particular the fourth quarter of that game. They could have scored 160 on Philadelphia. Uh, I'm not here to pound on Philadelphia. That game was not about Philadelphia. That series is not about Philadelphia. You look at the Knicks. The Knicks right now, 7 straight playoff wins. That's number one all time in their history. Uh, not the, you know, not Frazier, Monroe, the Busher, Nanos. They never did that, despite the fact that they have two championships. Ewing, Oakley, Mason, Starks, those guys never did that, despite all the success they had in the in the decade of '90s, the early to mid '90s in particular that 92 through '99 range. Um, they're number two in offensive rating in the playoffs, number three in defensive rating, number one in overall net rating. Um, Towns, who has been the ire of many of Knick fans. Karl Anthony Towns is making his third straight conference finals appearance. Third straight. You know what I call that? I call that a winning player. Right now, Towns leads the playoffs in win shares, P and PER. And what they have unlocked with Karl Anthony Towns being basically like a point power forward. Gotta give Mike Brown credit, is taking the pressure off Jalen Brunson, who's also been spectacular, who's also been phenomenal the last few games. Is taking the pressure off with him and Anunoby, who before the injury has been legitimately one of the top playoff performers this year. And I'll go through that list later on in the podcast, giving you my top 5 playoff players so far. Um, it's special what the Knicks are doing, and it should not be ignored. I don't care about like Atlanta was a number 5 seed. people thought the Sixers were dangerous coming into that series. I know of a couple of people, prominent media people that picked the Sixers to beat the Knicks. I didn't. I thought I picked the Sixers, picked the Knicks to win that series in six. But I thought it would be competitive. But the synergy that this Knicks team has right now, the flow, the rhythm that they are in offensively, um, it's something to see. It really is. Again, whoever they play, especially if it's Detroit, it doesn't matter who they play. They're going to be favored to me to get to the final. They obviously are favored to get to the finals. And I want to say this: if Bridges, who's played well, continues at this level, they have a legit chance, a puncher's chance at winning it all, at winning the entire thing. I actually think they could beat San Antonio. I'll say that right here, right now. Now, Oklahoma City would be a tougher matchup. Oklahoma City would be obviously favored in that series, but like I don't know. I can make a case that I think that this Nick team could be better than the Indiana team that took OKC to seven last year. Even though I think OKC is a little bit better this year with some of their with how AJ Mitchell is playing and what have you. But I, this Knicks team, like I said, the Knicks have top end talent. Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Anunoby. They are deeper than they were much deeper than what they were last year. They should be obviously fresh. Um, you should be able. They should be able to get back OG the next time they play. They're gonna have well over a week off. So that team is rolling right now. And when you look at teams that blow out people the way they're destroying people, you have to take note of that. That doesn't happen. Beating teams by 30 just doesn't happen that often in the playoffs. It's the playoffs. Like they've had a 30-point win. We seen them have a 51-point win. Um, they again they're playing some of the best. They're playing the best basketball right now. Um, Possibly of any team in the playoffs. I can make a case for that, even though they've lost two games. So we'll see. Again, Detroit would be obviously a much tougher matchup than Cleveland to me. Even though Cleveland has better offensive players, I just think I think that the Knicks will have a distinct advantage against Cleveland, despite the fact that I think Cleveland has more talent. I just think the physicality of defensively, Detroit puts up a more is more oppositional and put it way cause more problems, way more problems than Cleveland. And Cleveland would against the Knicks. But either way, the Knicks are absolutely the favorites to get to the finals. And I'm telling you right now, this could absolutely be their best chance to win a championship for 100%. I don't know how healthy Jalen Williams is going to be. I would absolutely give them a more than puncher's chance to beat San Antonio. So before Wembanyama starts running off championships and before becomes a NBA arms race between Spurs and OKC, this could be the next best chance. It really could be. This could be the year. So it's not just a matter of getting to the finals. You absolutely might need to, if you have any serious thoughts about winning a championship, this absolutely could be their best chance to win a title. It would be their first championship since 1973. Get to real thoughts with the draft lottery. Top five players in the playoffs this year. We'll update SGA's numbers. So I normally do a top five list at the end of the season when the championship is at the end of the season, going into next season, top five players in the world. I decided, started early. I'll still do the top five players in the world at the end when the playoffs are over. But right now, here's my top five players list of the playoffs. so far. At one, now this doesn't mean I believe that these are the five best players in the world. This is strictly playoffs. The one I do at the end of the postseason, those will be the world and the playoffs combined. So just I please keep that in mind from that standpoint. I'll start from five. At five, I would say OG Anunoby, 21 to 40 injury, 21-7 is he's averaging 21-7, 62, 53, 81 splits, fifth in PER, second in win shares, number one in terms of offensive rating, just playing just unbelievable basketball. Like I said before, the two man, you can run your offense. There are times during the game, and this along with Karl Anthony Towns' passing. This when Anobi got empowered to create his own offense to score more. This is when the Knicks really went to another level in these playoffs. Again, playing just phenomenal two-way basketball. Now, again, not only with but like I said, not only with the offensively, but with defensively as well. So he comes in at number five. At number four, Carl Anthony Towns. Towns leads the playoffs in win shares and PER, averaging 17, 9, and 6 on 58, 48, 89 splits. So he's basically, you know, 50, 40, 90, and close to being 60, 50, 90. Defense has improved. He again, he's 17, 9, and 6. Don't even do his numbers justice because he's only playing 28 minutes a game. The Knicks have been destroying people to such a level that his minutes he's under 30 minutes in the playoffs. So he's playing the best. This is the best. We've seen Karl Anthony Towns make the All Star team. We've seen Karl Anthony Towns be All NBA. This easily, easily is the best basketball I've seen Karl Anthony Towns play. Period. Now, still prone to an occasional stupid foul or two, but even past that, the efficiency has been off the charts. Just and give Mike Brown credit. They're at times running the offense through him. He's been great with his passes, finding the right people, and not committing turnovers. And not committing turnovers. So Towns is playing phenomenal basketball up until this point, and absolutely destroyed Joel Embiid in that series. Period. Point blank. Uh, Coming in at number three, Victor Wembanyama. Um, excuse me, at number two. Apologies, Victor Wembanyama at number two, 19, 10 and a half, 4.5 blocks. Now again, those numbers they took a dip because he gets kicked out of the game when he only had 4 points. He Minnesota has not been able to find a way to consistently score when he's been on the floor in this series. Had a game one, because he had 12 blocks. Um, Before he got kicked out of the game in game four, he had turned the corner as far as in this series, as far as going to the post, going to the paint, and not settling on 3 point shots. And that version of him, when he runs to the rim, when he drives to the basket, that version of Victor Wembanyama is unstoppable. Stoppable. Had the signature 39, 15, and 5 game on Friday night in a game three that they needed every one of those points as well. They desperately needed every single one of those points. Even in a game where Anthony Edwards had 32 and 14, played well. He was by far the best player on the floor. So he comes in. He comes in at number three. At number two, SGA. At number two. Now, SGA in these playoffs, especially in this series against the Lakers, did not have a great series. I can make a case that it was probably his worst playoff series that he's had going back to 2020 when they lost to Houston in 7 games. I can really make that case. Despite that, overall in the playoffs, SGA is at 29 points in 8 games, and 29 points, 51% from the field, uh, only 85% from the line, and is on a team that 7.7 assists, and is on a team that has only played his second best player has only played in 2 games in Jalen Williams. So you can he has not played. His numbers have dropped a bit from the regular season, but in total control of the game, and in the closeout game, he was 30. Basically, he was 35-8 last night, and had a big fourth quarter and made every big shot. He still has been one of the top two best players and most consequential players in the postseason. And number one, I have Cade Cunningham. Um, he leads the playoffs in total points and assists and in clutch scoring. And you look at his numbers, again, the shooting percentages are not going to blow you away. The efficiency is not going to blow you away. Cade is on a team that he has to carry just ridiculous load as far as he doesn't score, they don't score. Now, I know Tobias Harris had a stretch before last night of like 7 straight um, 20-point games, including a 30-point game against in game 7 against Orlando. I understand that. But Jalen Duran has been a non-factor in the playoffs for the most part. Uh, Again, Kay Cunningham has to do everything. Has the ball in his hands. He defends at a high level. He has to make every decision, and I just have to take that in consideration when I'm gauging the importance of a guy and gauging how a guy is playing. Again, 29 points a game. He's 29, based 25 points, 7.5 assists, 5 rebounds, with excellent defense, shooting 40% from the three, uh, 44% from the field. Not great, but not awful. And playing, more importantly, he's playing 40 minutes. Look at how many minutes he's playing compared to Shea and Karl Anthony Towns and Victor Wembanyama. Like, he hasn't played 40, and these are 40 hard minutes. These are 40 tough minutes. So I think for what he has to do, I know the series is a dogfight. I know they win 7 games with Orlando, but that team, the Detroit team, is not that talented. They're just not that talented of a team. They're just not. And he's been phenomenal. He's absolutely been phenomenal. Played well last year in the playoffs, even in defeat. Played relatively well in the playoffs. So I think now again you can put SGA because you can give SGA the champions. Well, he's a champ. He's the MVP. He will be back-to-back MVP. I still got to look listen. Kay Cunningham would love an AJ Mitchell or Casey Wallace for that matter. Would love that type of player on his team to go out there to take some of the load off. He does not have that player. He just doesn't. So Cade 1, SGA 2, Victor Wembanyama 3, Cat 4, and OG 5. Those have been my top 5 playoff players um, so far. So far. And I will do a list. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it before the end of the season. I'll do one before the finals. I'll do one before the finals. So I'll do one probably in a couple of weeks. Give me about 3 weeks. I'll do another one. In the program, in the podcast, for some real thoughts. The draft, of course, the draft lottery took place on Sunday. Was one of the most anticipated draft lotteries in recent memory. Um, Listen, I think think the NBA, like as far the NBA won as far as the interest. Obviously, this was highly anticipated, um, and despite the fact that a 30-point ass whooping would follow, a lot of people have been talking about this over the course of this past week. Washington winning the lottery to me is a win. The nation's capital has been starving for a game-changing, franchise-changing player for forever. Again, I say this with all due respect to John Wall. John Wall had an excellent career, has multiple All NBAs, couple of, a few All Star games. I have ton of respect for John Wall. Was a good wizard. Was a very good. Again, had tremendous amount of success. Made a lot of money, and congratulations on him being what the general manager at Howard. With that being said, they have not. Washington has not had that. Just they needed like a Alexander. This guy who they draft could possibly be an Alexander Ovechkin type figure for this franchise. If they nail this pick, that's what this player could be. And to have that in the nation's capital, to have that on a team that's in transition, on a team that is looked upon as one has been looked upon as one of the worst franchises in the NBA and in sports. Remember, the Wizards have not won 50 games in their history. I'm gonna repeat that. The Wizards, the Wizards have not won 50 games in their history. So, and so that's what we're talking about with this franchise. Yeah, the Wizards the Wizards have never won 50 games. The last time the franchise won 50 games was 1978-79 season. 90, I was born in 1978. So you got to go back. I mean, it's 47 years since the last time they won 50 games in a season. Okay. Closest they came was the John Wall team. John Wall, Bradley Beal was had a record of 149 games. So that is just to give you how inept this franchise has been in its history. And, they got an opportunity. They will be, at worst, interesting this season. You get the number one pick, Trey Young, Anthony Davis, um, have, Sar. Well, they're going to have playoff playing goal. They're going to have goals to make the play in, I'm sure. But there's not a franchise who in the NBA who needed this. The Wizards needed this in the worst way to get the number one pick. So you get Washington, Utah, Memphis, Chicago, LA. Um, who knows? And who knows? By the way, with the right trade, with the right compensation, eh, maybe the Wizards, maybe Utah, gives the Wizards a call and sees and test the waters on that number one pick. We know the Bansa, was a BYU played for BYU. They obviously that would be a dream scenario for the Bansa, and for Utah to get the Bansa. But I would say this: for the right price, I would strongly consider it. Because if I'm the Wizards, I have no problem taking a Caleb Wilson, or you know, I wouldn't take Darren Peterson. I still wouldn't mess with Darren Peterson. But I would have no problems with getting multiple draft picks, multiple first round picks in the future, unprotected, and possibly Caleb Wilson. So we'll see. But you have franchises that have to have who, Utah is headed in the right direction as it is. They've done some work adding to their roster. They, they're going to they are to me Utah is going to make a jump this year. They'll get some guys who are injured who will be back healthy this year. I like Ace Bailey. Memphis needs a total just a complete fresh start as a franchise. I certainly expect that John Morant will be traded. Speaking of Memphis, I mean, just it would be just ridiculous of me not to mention this. Rest in peace to Brandon Clark, who formerly played for Memphis, who is currently a player for Memphis, 29 years old, um, passed away today. I mean, I'm not. I've heard speculation on why he passed away. I'm not even gonna get into that until it's well sourced, and I don't like get into alleged stuff. I like you can read up on it in terms of how he died. Right now, it's speculation. A 7-year veteran came in 2019, was a star at Gonzaga, was a very good player before the injuries kind of derailed his career. Was still in the league. Again, only 29 years old. So rest in peace to that young man and his family. It's just awful news that you hate to hear. Um, to anyone. This guy again only 29 years old, and that is just horrific news to hear. But Memphis absolutely, as a franchise, needs a makeover, extreme makeover. I know they have some nice young pieces there. They're going to have some cap space. Um, but this number three, like, listen, you have a top three pick, whether it's, Boozer or a point guard, they should be able to get a player that can help change the fortunes of that franchise. And Chicago would have the fourth pick. Fifth pick was this is where the draft got this is where the lottery got super interesting. And this is this was the most consequential part of the lot of it. The Clippers get the fifth pick, which meant that Indiana was out a SOL shit out of luck as far as a pick. Indiana made a trade to the Clippers during the season for Ivanka Zubac, where they gave up Bender, where they gave up Matherin, Isaiah Jackson, um, unprotected 2029 pick, a 2028 second round pick. Mm. The Clippers got all of that and the number five pick. Indiana got Zubac and nothing else. The pick was protected. The trade, the Indiana of course had their picks from 1 to 4 was protected. So if they would have fell between 1 and 4, they would have got this pick, but it fell to fifth. So they end up with nothing, zilch, nata to show for that Zubac trade. I listen. I understand why they made the trade. We just about 20 minutes ago talked about the importance of bigs, quality bigs in order to win a championship. Indiana, of course, seemingly, everybody comes back healthy, will be in contention to get to the back to the finals next year. But boy, man, that's a lot. That's a lot you gave up for Zubac. A lot, way more than he's ever worth. That I mean, the pick that number five pick, Zubac is not worth that top five pick, and not in this draft. In next year's draft, probably, but not in this draft. So that turns out to be an absolute disaster for Indiana. Now again, everybody comes back healthy, and most importantly, Tyrese Halliburton. They should be fine. That is a top organization that we know they're well. Extreme. Rick Carlisle's a great coach. Pritchard is still a great, I think, a great general manager in terms of player development. They have a great infrastructure, but man, that shit. I like that hurt me, and I'm not even a Pacers fan. And that was like, ooh, you give up. And Matherin has moment, man. Matherin played well for the Clippers. I mean, the guy we know sometimes he can have that irrational confidence, but he is absolute fearless, and he's still young. And you give up, man. That number five pick is going to be. That's gonna be a that number five pick could be an all starter, depending on who he is. That pick could be you're gonna get a good play. You should be able to get an excellent player at number five, and the 2029 unprotected. So, which by the way, again, you could say, well, Indiana could still be good 3 years from now, maybe, maybe, but even if they are, that is a trade, that is an asset, that is the extra first round pick that the Clippers will have as a possible trade asset. I was happy to see franchises like the Kings and Brooklyn, even though listen, this draft rewarded tanking. Let's not mistaken. All these teams at the top, Washington, Utah, Memphis, Chicago tanked, and they went out their way to tank. But I was glad to see Sacramento not in the mix for a top five pick. Brooklyn not in the mix for a top five pick. It was good to see those franchises who have done nothing, absolutely zilch with having top five picks, top three picks. I mean, we've seen Sacramento have like I said, this is the same Sacramento, the same franchise that passed up on Luka Doncic for Marvin Bagley Jr. So those franchises, I was couldn't be happier not to see them get a top five pick, let alone possibly a number one pick in this particular draft lottery. It should be a very interesting draft. Again, could Giannis be traded before the draft or during the draft? Kawhi Leonard, you're gonna have Austin Reeves. There could be a number of moves that could possibly be on the table. Some teams trading up. Maybe like I said earlier, Utah. How much is that number one pick worth to Utah in terms of we know Danny Ainge, we know he's not afraid to make a deal or a big deal, shake shit up. Also, Boston, Jalen Brown. We haven't didn't talk much about that situation, but it could be. We'll see what happens with that. Could he be on the move? So it's going to be a busy offseason in the NBA. But again, still a long way to go with these particular playoffs. Um, as we are just basically halfway through the NBA postseason. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. Enjoy the rest of your day. So long. I'll see you next time.